call it whatever you want without getting into politics at this point. But it's a very unique population, and leaving the island is very, very expensive. So when the threshold of 50% started, Puerto Rico had only 2 APA accredited sites. And we had at the time, I believe, 2 or 3 programs, and Dr. Rodriguez can add to this, what's going to happen to them. So adding to what you're saying, it's the cultural piece, the understanding diversity from a different lens that is not what I think APA sometimes forgets. That psychology is different in the rural area and in that side of the country and in Puerto Rico. And so I wonder if you're opening the door for other groups to fight, to speak up and demand reconsideration for that threshold. And even more if there's no evidence to support that it is better training.
Right. And I have to say that I don't feel like we have the answers. We don't have the final answers. What we need is to start the dialogue, but we can't start the dialogue if we're dismissed out of hand.
I wanted to follow up with Dr. Jimenez's comments. I remember many moons ago that I led an appeal regarding APA accreditation and an adverse decision against a program in which over 60% of the students were minority. Now, we had the very good fortune that Dr. Morrison was the chair of the appeal panel. And I think that part of our argument and reasoning and why we won the appeal was that at that time we were asking APA, show us the outcome data. Show us your outcome data as to how this program that over the great majority of students could do bilingual evaluations, whether it was in Haitian, whether it was in Spanish, different languages. And so then that is a huge skill and a huge contribution to the nation in terms of reducing healthcare disparities. And so then we come to the concept of being arbitrary or arbitrariness. And so then it makes sense. If I have, if I go to the 5th story of a building and I have a bowling ball and I have a golf ball and I drop them, okay, it's common sense that the bowling ball is going to land first. Now, the only way that I know the difference is if I actually do the experiment. And so then what we know is that professional judgment often flies in the face of empirical evidence. And so then here there is no empirical evidence to support the superiority of APA accredited internships. It's also very dangerous because you use APA accreditation for employment purposes as well. And so then the VA says you've got to graduate from an APA accredited program and you've got to go to an APA accredited internship. So again, they are limiting access in that sense when there is no evidence that APA accredited internships are better. So that's another aspect in terms of arbitrariness and how someone, another thing is, how did they arrive at 50%? I would really like to see the quantitative reasoning as to how it's not 42%.
Right.
Why wasn't it 52% or 53%? How did they arrive smack dab at 50%? So that is a type of logical reasoning, so to speak, or professional judgment. But we know that professional judgment can be very dangerous in that sense.
Right. It always bugs me because then, they always introduce this as well. We are a science-based discipline.
Yes.
So if you're a science-based discipline, give me some data.
Show us the science.
there's some science. But the final point, and I know that we're getting over time here, but, oh, we have 4 minutes. There's one important factor to remember. You know, this whole thing with torture protocols and all of that, and how the ethics committee made such a mess of, made it such a hash of their job, was because APA became too insular, and there wasn't enough dialogue, there wasn't enough light, there wasn't enough transparency. We're asking for more light, more air, more discussion, bring more voices into the dialogue. It's not just for us, trust me. It's going to make APA better. And
at the end of the day, that is the case. This is also limiting access and choice.
Right.
So if you have a client who's in a rural area, how is that client going to be served?
Right.
You know, you're not going to have APA accredited programs in real rural areas for the most part. They tend to be more urban centered.
And some of the argument about that is, we'll then build consortiums that then can be APIC, APA accredited. That's a complicated process. CAPIC does that too.
Right.
Don't know why it can't be a CAPIC consortium and
Right,
be
but-
respected just as much.
And we certainly have gone down the consortium road a bit, and it is expensive. And the fact is that the agencies that we have been talking about, that are CAPIC agencies, don't have a penny to spare on accreditation issues. We don't even want them to spare a penny on accreditation issues. They're taking care of people who are the underserved people in our population. Take all your resources and spend it on the people who need these sort of resources, who need treatment. Let us worry about the accreditation needs, but I think we need to open. So I don't know what the answer is, but I know that the questions are not being asked and not being dealt with appropriately, and we need to create more dialogue with APA. And to get back to the roots of NCSBP, that is where NCSBP started. APA, there would be the conservative doctoral programs within APA would say X, and we'd go, not so fast. Don Peterson and George Stryker and the people who founded NCSBP. And that's what we need to do again. It's not like when the accreditation commission says X, we don't, or says jump, instead of saying how I say, wait just a second.
Right.
Let's talk about, what we really need to do here and what's really going to benefit our students.
I agree. I just have 2 more things to say. The first of which is that the logic presented by NACIQI does not make sense to me, because of the fact that if they're saying, well, APA has more programs, that is incorrect. APA actually has more internships than they have programs.
I've never gotten a straight answer as to how APA can do it and we can't. I'm not sure if they're grandfathered in, but I've asked on multiple occasions.
There are about 960 some, accredited programs. Overwhelmingly, the great majority are internships, not APA accredited programs of doctoral study. And then the other thing that I just wanted to say was thank you for the work that you are doing. It is work that you put tons of time in. It is very much a sacrifice that you are making in order to do that. And I just wish that there were many more people here, because this is something that should be near and dear to NCSBP's heart, given what Andrea was also mentioning about the fact that, this is how the NCSBP started.
Yes. That's one reason why we made the decision, and Jorge Wong, thank you so much for recording this. So
Current president of the California Psychological Association.
So we will share this.
Just transition.
Oh, just transition.
He'll edit it to take off all my bad sides, and we'll definitely share it with NCSBP.
Right, and with everyone. We'll put
Everyone.
it on our website. We'll make sure NACIQI sees it also. But this is, this is a passion for all of us, and we care about what we're doing, and we couldn't do it any other way. But we love it when we get to tell our story and people like to hear it.
to be in the conversation. And that's why we're
Yes.
here, not as an us against them or why are we being put upon, but to be in the conversation.
And not
to
be
bring it
dismissed.
here.
Sorry.
Yeah.
One clarification, it was Chia who indicated to me that we were not eligible to become an accrediting body. It wasn't the NACIQI committee.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Right.
So,
But it's tricky. I mean, becoming an accrediting body is a gigantic, financial undertaking. And that's how APA ended up with the responsibility anyway, because there really wasn't another body within psychology that had the fiduciary resources to do it. So that's how they were able to skirt the rule in the first place and become, and have the accrediting body. But given that happened, they've always had to pay special attention to this potential conflict of interest. And I think this is a place where they actually fall down, and where the NACIQI really needs to take a closer look. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And
Thank
thank you
you.
for listening.